Production support for the Friday Zone is provided by Smithville, a locally owned business serving central and southern Indiana since 1922, with residential and business internet, voice, and security services. Smithville, local pride, global technology. Information at smithville.net. The Margaret A. Cargill Foundation. And WTIU members. Thank you.
Hope you're not afraid of dark places, because today we're talking about caves.
Grab a flashlight and your sense of adventure. We're going in.
You're not alone. You're in the zone. So hang up the phone and get in the zone. Get in the zone. The Friday Zone. You're in the zone. The Friday Zone. Everyone is invited to come. Everyone is invited to come. Everyone is invited. Get in the zone. Everyone is the Friday Zone.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Friday Zone. As you may have noticed, we do like to go outside the studio and explore all the amazing places available to us.
But I dislike the sun. I feed on darkness, so I asked if we could find a happy medium, and we settled on caves. Caves are actually natural holes in the earth. They can also be called caverns. They're dark and are formed when water seeps through the earth. The water mixes with carbon to make carbon acid. This then dissolves the limestone in the earth. After a while, this forms tunnels, and eventually large rooms underground become caves.
The Friday Zone field crew was so intrigued by the idea of spelunking, or exploring caves, that we had to try it ourselves. So we traveled to Corden, Indiana to the Squire Boone Caverns to experience what being below the earth felt like in this Zone investigation.
Stalagmites, stalactites, and rimstone dams are only a few of the majestic sights you may encounter inside a cave. But did you know that these formations took thousands of years in the making? The Friday Zone field crew traveled to the Squire Boone Caverns in Corden, Indiana to learn more about the science of speleology, the study of caves. Although there are several different types of caves across the world, in Indiana the most common kind of cave is called a solutional cave. This is the type of cave you'll see when visiting the Squire Boone Caverns. Now you may be asking yourself, what's the difference between a cave and a cavern? A cave is how you define a natural underground cavity, while a cavern is a connected system of caves and passages. As a solutional cave, this means that the Squire Boone Caverns were formed in limestone. This specific limestone started forming in an ancient sea called the Mississippian Sea about 250 to 325 million years ago. The calcium in this sea was used by sea creatures to form shell homes, and over time, as these creatures died and collected on the seafloor, the shells became compressed into limestone. As a soluble rock, the limestone was dissolved by a mixture of rainwater and carbon dioxide, which accumulated as rainwater fell through the atmosphere and into the soil. The acidic water seeped into the crevices of the limestone to deteriorate and expand the rock into the caverns we see today. The act of exploring a cave, known as spelunking, can reveal a multitude of unique mineral formations called speleothemes. You may be familiar with stalagmites, which grow from the cave floor, or stalactites, which grow down from the cave ceiling, but there are actually many other formations that decorate the cavern interior. Over time, if stalagmites and stalactites grow together, a column of calcium carbonate, also called calcite, is formed. When the mineral-rich water trickles down the underside of inclined ceilings, deposits of the mineral are left in lines which fold and curl as if they were drapes from windows. These formations are appropriately called draperies for such an appearance. One of the coolest formations we saw is called a rimstone dam. These dams are wall-shaped forms that impound small pools of water, or, in some cases, dam cave streams. The blue light helps show the detail of this formation. If all this talk about spelunking has you intrigued to do some exploring yourself, remember these helpful safety tips. Never go spelunking alone. A minimum of 3 explorers would be best, each with a separate light source since caves are really dark. Do not go spelunking if rain is in the forecast. Caves can flood really quickly. And finally, no matter where you're exploring, remember that caves are fragile and to take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, and kill nothing but time. To get more information on cave adventures, visit www.squirebooncaverns.com. Happy spelunking, everyone!
Now you might be saying to yourself, those caves sure look excellent, but how can I experience their majestic beauty without traveling underground?
Well, today in the Zone, we're going to be showing you at home how to make your very own cave out of recycled tissue boxes and some arts and crafts that you might have laying around. So to start, here at the Zone, we had some recycled tissue boxes, some paint, some yarn, some paintbrush, some scissors, and some glue sticks and some yarn. And Chad, you have some colored paper
We also
too,
have some
right?
color paper, you know, a wide assortment of shades of brown and white.
Perfect for a cave. All right, so let's get started.
So pretty much, yeah, go ahead. We'll show you. It takes a little while to do this, so we did a few ahead of time. But Emily's going to start on the very process. You want to cut out the stalagmites and the stalactites. And you guys can always remember that you're always like, how do you know the difference between the two of them? Stalagmites has a G in it for ground, and stalactites has a C in it for ceiling. So if you were like,
Chad, you're
there you
so
go.
smart.
You're going to get an A on that
Science
quiz
exam.
whenever that happens.
Yeah.
So we already have these pre's cut out, but Emily's going to start working on those.
And basically, I think you can just cut like really any design that you'd like, as long as it has like skinny and like bigger, tall and short stalactites or stalagmites.
Exactly. And I'll start puncturing these out a little bit. So we jumped a little bit ahead just to save you guys time.
Chad, mine don't look as good as yours.
Well, you know, I have a feel for rock. I understand how it's supposed to look. It's my gift.
Now, can't people use any color for the tissue box? Like, is it gonna matter?
Well, you know, we're gonna paint over all of these, so actually that's fine. It can be any color you want, or maybe you can find a color tissue box that you just like the color. Maybe you want to have red, kind of striped plaid tissue caves. That might be your thing.
Wait, did I do this right?
I think you did. Well, yeah, you actually want to make sure the sides of these two, because we're gonna combine these two together. So you want to actually make sure you have a hole in the side so we can connect them both into one big cave.
Okay.
So make sure you cut those out as well.
Well, I'll finish cutting this side, and how about we try and do this together?
Okay, yeah, I'll finish this one up and we'll jump onto this one.
What do you think you want to put in our cave?
Well, if we gotta have some bats,
Okay.
we could have some like cave trolls maybe. I don't know if we have time to make those though.
A cave troll?
Yeah, we could try to get those, but let's stick with bats. That's probably the main one.
Okay.
Because we already have a few. You can see you can cut them out of the construction paper. We have a few like these, or you can cut them any way you want. You can be any kind of cave dwelling creature you want.
All right. So this is the box I've done so far, and I have my what are the stalagmites, right? G for ground.
G for ground.
So-
Stalagmites.
But I still am yet to cut those, but we can do those later. Let's try and work on this.
Okay, so we got that one done.
So now we want to make sure that we don't paint the outside of this until the end, when everything on the inside is put into place, because otherwise you'll get paint all over you.
That's right,
We don't want
yeah.
that. So
So we won't put the bats, and you can also crumble up paper to make the rocks. As you can see
Oh.
in our finished version, all you have to do is just take some of this colored paper,
great.
kind of crinkle up into a little ball. We'll put this in probably right near the end. But you can lay that in there, you get a little big, some boulders and stuff
That's
for your
good.
cave.
I think that's what I'm going to try and start on.
Okay.
I like this color.
All right, I'm gonna finish cutting this out real quick.
Do we want big and small rocks in ours?
I think we got different sizes, but a few big ones so we can really stress
Climb.
the strength of this cave.
Some cave climbing.
Yeah. So you have these all set up like that. I'm gonna work on a few of the bats. So you take the bats we've already cut out here, and we want to take the yarn so you can hang them from the ceilings, and we're just gonna glue and tape them together. Takes a second. Be careful with the glue. You don't want to get it on your hands or anything. And it might take a little bit of time, so make sure you guys hold on to them as you stick them up there. It'll actually hang up. It might take a little bit of patience, especially with the paint as we get to that part.
All right. I'm gluing our big rocks in. Maybe I should alternate some colors.
Yeah, give a few different ones. You want to have a little texture, and you can also see it in the finished one. You actually cut out some other, another sample of stalagmites and stalactites and glued them into the back, so you have a little bit more of a layer effect for it.
Should I do that too? All right. We're just trying to do everything in
I
our
know.
cave.
We're speed making this cave.
It'll look awesome.
Okay, we'll see if this works. All right, gonna hang it up here. And the yarn difference too, you can actually vary the different yarn lengths. So you can have some low hanging bats, some high. There, let's see how that works. Yeah, I barely even had to hold on to it, but you can see just hanging in there right
Oh,
there.
that looks good. Now it needs a friend.
Yeah, we need a few of them. I'll work on a few of these.
Oh, you can be that bat, and I'll be the other bat.
Aw, nice
That'd
friendship.
be nice. I think I might want a frog in mine.
A frog?
Yeah, or maybe a butterfly that flew
If
in.
you can do it, I have no idea how to cut out the shape of a frog.
We can make it a girly cave.
Like I said, it could be anything. It could be cave trolls. I'm just gonna say it could be cave trolls.
What about people?
People, there are some people that live in caves.
Can't you go spelunking?
You go splunking, actually. There's a
Right.
lot of different things you can do. And we'll try to do a little bit of, I'm gonna try to do a little bit of painting just ahead of time, actually,
Okay.
to show you guys how you can do it. You can mix all the browns and the greens together. I mean, really, caves are just shades of browns and darks. So be as free.
can
with
be
it.
bright, too.
It could be bright. It could be a bright cave.
I would have a yellow and pink cave if I
Yellow
could
and
make it
pink
on
one?
my own.
Yeah, that's right. The imagination's the limit. So I'll start painting on this one. But it's gonna take a little bit of time, but you guys should definitely have fun and try all the different things you guys can put in your caves.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ideas. There we go. I'm close.
We'll work together, yeah. It's
Ooh.
not bad. But you know,
Alright.
caves aren't the only geological attractions you can check out. If you're a fan of fossils, which are the preserved remains of organisms, you can see those at the Falls of Ohio in southern Indiana. It's a 390 million year old fossil bed, and it's our next Friday Zone field trip.
The Friday Zone field crew traveled to Clarksville, Indiana to the Falls of the Ohio State Park, where you can see millions of years of Earth's history right below your feet. Did you know 390 million years ago the world looked a little different than it does now? The continents were not in the places that you and I know them today, and there was a sea that covered where you live. This period of time was known as the Devonian period, or the Age of Fish. The sea that covered Indiana was full of life, including marine life and corals. This diorama from the exhibits gallery at the Park's Interpretive Center represents how scientists believe the Devonian Ocean may have appeared. This is based on fossil evidence at the park and from studies throughout the eastern United States. Several million years passed, and the bones, skeletons, and other remains started to build up on the bottom of the sea, and the remains had become carbonized and made into rock, or limestone. Millions of years later, during the Ice Age, glaciers covered the northern half of North America. Over a period of 2 million years, they helped form the present-day Ohio Valley. These glaciers melted, and then coupled with millions of tons of loose rocks, filled the river valley and shaped the river that we know as the Ohio. The rushing Ohio River cut over the limestone, exposing fossils that had not been exposed for over 350 million years. That 350 million year old limestone at the Falls of the Ohio is composed of skeletons remaining from countless number of corals, sponges, brachiopods, mollusks, arthropods, and microscopic organisms. Another thing that might catch your eye as you're scouring the banks of the river is large limbs of wood known as petrified wood. Petrified wood is wood from trees and other vegetation that is so old, through time and a process called pre-mineralization, has turned to stone. It is said that some 13,000 years ago, the first hunters followed the Ice Age animals, including the great mastodons and mammoths, to this area and settled because of the rich and bountiful resources that the Ohio River provided. Have you ever heard about the great adventures of Lewis and Clark? Well, it is on this site in 1778 that George Rogers Clark and his group of militia settled and explored the uncharted territories of the area and out west in the Louisiana Purchase, giving us the town that we know today as Clarksville. These fossil beds at the Falls of the Ohio are considered to be among the largest natural fossil beds in the world. Over 300 species of fossils have been identified at the falls.
Now today, the falls are used for its educational and recreational purposes. Tourists from around the area can explore the fossil beds, walk the shores and pick out the number of different species that the beds have to offer, learn about the falls in the Interactive Interpretive Center, or just relax on the banks of the Ohio River and enjoy the wildlife that this area has to offer. But remember, walking on the beds does not harm the 350 million year old windows to our past, but fossil collecting does. So taking home any fossil is prohibited. Pictures will have to be the only thing that you take home from these fossil beds. So Friday Zone viewers, if you are interested in finding out what exactly the falls have to offer and see just how many different fossils you can identify, then visit www.fallsoftheohio.org to learn more. It is at the Falls of the Ohio where the earth reveals its own ancient story that has become our own.
What's the first thing you think of when I mention caves? For me, it's bats. That's why Laura Homan from the Center for North American Bat Research and Conservation is joining us in the zone today to teach us a little about these mysterious creatures. So welcome, Laura. So I see that you have your friends in here.
I do indeed.
So are these your pets?
No,
or-
they're not my pets. I actually have a special permit from the USDA so that I can actually take them around and do educational talks with them. So I do educational talks all over Indiana.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're not allowed to have them as a pet without a license?
No, not technically.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. Well, what type of bats are these?
These are big brown bats, Eptesicus fuscus. Would you like to meet them?
I would love to meet them. Oh man. Do bats have genders? What
Yes.
are-
Yes.
So what are their names? Genders?
These two are Luna and Millie. They're both girls.
Luna and Millie.
In fact, big brown bats tend to form what are called maternity colonies, which are colonies full of a bunch of mom bats, a bunch of girl bats who are raising their babies. We call bat babies pups.
Pups?
Yes, very
Ah.
cute.
I bet. How old are these bats?
These are both adults. Luna is, I believe, 7. And Millie, I don't know because I got her as an adult. Luna I actually raised from a baby. So here they are.
Oh wow. I was not expecting them to be this cute, actually.
I
So
think they're exceptional
furry.
too. They are. They're very furry. They've got fur all over their body. They don't have fur on their tail membrane, their feet, or their wings. And they got little sort of bare spots on their face. They're kind of looking around and checking everything out here. Now they're usually used to, whenever I get them out, to getting mealworms. They get a snack as part of their deal for hanging out and doing educational stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, and what exactly are mealworms?
These are actually beetle larvae because these bats eat insects.
And these are, oh wow,
Oh, you dropped it.
that
There we go.
looks tasty.
Oh yes, well they think it's tasty. We may not think it's tasty.
So I always hear the expression, you're blind as a bat. So where is that true? Where does that come from?
Bats are actually really good at navigating around the dark. They use echolocation, but they do also have eyes. So they have eyesight, they can see, they're not blind, but the echolocation is a really excellent tool for them hunting flying insects.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So they usually would be hunting the larva.
Yes,
If
not
they weren't
having
being
it,
fed.
put in their mouth.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So what does it take besides larvae to take care of bats?
Well, I have a whole room in my house that's dedicated. It's the bat rehab room. That's where I take care of sick and injured bats, also orphaned bats, which is how I got Luna. She was an orphan bat.
Oh.
And I take care of them. I've got this whole room, got special caging, special food. I order mealworms by the thousands. I get boxes of them shipped to my house.
Have they ever gotten out?
The
Just started traveling around your room?
The mealworms?
Yeah, or the bats?
Well, the mealworms occasionally make their way out of the dishes, and I find them kind of in corners of the cage.
Gotcha. So can you find bats in like all caves?
Not all caves. In fact, they seem to have certain preferences for humidity and temperature. But we do have a lot of caves here in Indiana where bats will hibernate. And Indiana's been doing a lot to protect those. We call them hibernacula because that's where they hibernate. And Indiana has done a lot to kind of protect those caves. Some of those caves are closed during the winter so the bats can hibernate in peace. And they've also closed additional caves due to something called white nose syndrome.
I've heard about that. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So white nose syndrome is this new disease that's affecting bats. It started in the state of New York, and it's been spreading further. It's spread as far west as Missouri. And basically what you see is the bats, they'll have they have this white nose. You see they have very brown nose. The white nose cinder bats will actually have white, and it's a fungus that's growing on their nose, and that's how you know that there's something going on, that they're sick. And they also find them flying around in the middle of winter at the entrance to their caves and just dying. In fact, they think perhaps over 1 million bats have now died of this disease.
Oh, wow. What do they think caused it?
This fungus is something that's not new to the United States. It's something called Geomyces destructans, and it's possible that it was an introduced fungus, accidentally introduced from Europe, although not all the facts are in. That's the current sort of primary hypothesis, the main thing that we think is going on. But we're still doing research. A lot of people have different ideas, and we don't want to rule any of them out right now.
So they're just closing the caves right now for safety reasons?
Well,
for the
they're
bats?
worried that if it is this fungus, that the spores will get on people, and that they'll go to from one cave that has white nose syndrome, and they'll take it to a cave that doesn't have it, and then make those bats sick.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure we can trust them to make sure that all the bats are healthy and safe. Well, thank you so much for bringing your bats with us today, Luna and Millie. It was very nice meeting you, watching you eat.
They ate the entire time.
Well, it seems like it's easy to forget about all the wonderful clues to the past that are lying below our feet. And here in the Zone, we think it's important to know a little about those clues beneath the earth. Way back in first season, former host Holly Gregory spoke with an anthropologist about human fossils and evolution in this Friday Zone Flashback.
And we've got some stuff spread out on the table here that we're going to talk about. But the first question I want to know is, what is anthropology? What does an anthropologist do?
Anthropologists study people. We study people that live today, and we study people in other countries, and we study our closest relatives. That's what I do. I study chimpanzees, and we study the evolution of people, and that's another thing that I do.
Okay, now what is evolution?
Well, evolution is just change over time. It's change that happens over thousands of years, thousands of generations even. We think that probably humans and chimpanzees separated maybe only 6 million years ago.
Okay, so they were kind of linked together, and then 6 million years ago, really long time, they kind of.
That's right. 6 million years ago, sort of long, but not so long in the great
big scheme of things,
yeah.
right? Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the differences between. Well, let's set up. This is our chimpanzee, right? So we can give ourselves a little reminder of what they look like. Right? We're talking apes, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and this is a female chimpanzee with her little
carrying
guy.
her baby. Yeah, chimpanzee females carry their babies on their back.
Okay, so then what have we got out here? What are we going to look at? We're going to look at some of the differences, right?
Yeah, we got some bones that are similar in chimpanzees and humans, and we got some bones that are quite different. And I wanted to point out some of the similarities and some of the differences between chimpanzees and humans.
Okay.
This is an upper arm bone, and this is a chimpanzee right here, and this is a human. And you can see that they look very similar to one another.
Okay, so right up here.
That's the upper arm bone, yeah.
And this fits in this way, right?
Yeah, it's actually the left one, so it's this arm right here.
That way.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. And okay, hold that one up for a second. So if we're going to look at how these two fit.
And they fit in like that. So that's your shoulder joint.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay, so that one's the
chimpanzee, and this is the human. And
yeah,
you can
but they
see
look
they're
very similar.
Very similar, yeah. And chimpanzees have very similar arms to humans.
Okay, alrighty. And then which one are these two?
And these are thigh bones. This is the upper bone in the leg, and you can see that the chimpanzee and human look very similar again. The chimpanzee leg bone is smaller than a human leg bone. We have long legs compared to our arms, whereas chimpanzees have arms and legs that are about the same length.
Okay.
Even longer the arms can be in chimpanzees than their legs.
Okay, and this is something you can really see. I mean, if I bend over and sort of put arm to leg, you can see my arm is shorter
That's
than my
right,
leg.
yeah.
And chimpanzees, they'd be about the same?
That's right, and if you try to walk on four legs, you can see that you have to bend your knees in order to do that, but chimpanzees don't.
Right, okay. So then these ones too,
and then
right?
this is the pelvic bone, this is the hip bone, and you can see that they're very different in the human and the chimpanzee.
Okay.
And that's because chimpanzees walk around on 4 legs and humans walk around on 2. All of our weight's borne through this collection of bones here, our hip bones. For chimpanzees, they bear their weight partly on their forelimbs, their arms, and partly on their legs, and their pelvis is very different because of that.
Okay.
And because they're not upright.
And so we're talking about these bones right here that you can feel,
That's
right?
right, yeah, you can feel. In fact, this part of the bone right here, you can feel. It's the part that if you wear a belt, that your belt rests on.
Rests right on there.
Yeah.
Okay, alrighty. So this one's sort of, the chimpanzee one is set up so that when they walk on all fours, it sort of fits that body shape better? Is that
It
what we're
does,
saying?
yeah. And instead of your internal organs sort of resting on a bowl-like pelvis.
Which is what our whole, everything in there just rests
That's
right
right,
here?
because we're upright. And so our pelvis reinforces that and allows those organs to sort of ride comfortably. Whereas chimpanzees, a more natural position is like this, and the internal organs sort of hang from the spine and the
this
pelvis.
is where the spine would come out this
That's
way?
right, yeah, the top
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
And
then
that's
we're
very
gonna-
different in chimps and humans.
Right, and then we're going to talk about the skulls, right?
Yeah, and then by the time you get to the skull, they're very, very different. And if you might have a little bit of problem telling a chimpanzee upper arm bone from a human, less probably with the leg bone, by the time you get to the skull, you have no problems whatsoever.
Right.
Humans and chimps are very different.
This one's the chimp,
That's right.
and
yeah.
this one's the human.
Yeah, and you can see how much larger the brain case is on the human. We have brains 3 times the size of chimpanzees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this part here?
That's called the brow ridge, and it's something that's very large on chimpanzees, and we have almost no brow ridge. Some of us have larger brow ridges than others. And it's interesting, when you look at a human, it's sort of hard to imagine us ever having had a skull that's like this, and that's why I brought that fossil cast to show you what an intermediate would look like.
Okay, now who is this guy?
That's an Australopithecus africanus. It's a fossil that's about 2.5 million years old, so about halfway in between the time that we split from chimps and now, just about halfway. And you can see that it sort of looks halfway in between. The brain's a little bigger than the chimpanzee, although this is a big male, so he has a pretty big brain. But the brow ridge isn't quite so big. The face doesn't stick out quite so much, so it's not quite halfway in between. It's probably more like a chimp than a human, but you can see some of those chimpanzee features beginning to disappear.
So would this have been caveman? Is that?
Yeah.
Sort of?
Well, these probably lived more in trees than caves, but a little later they lived more in caves. But this one was actually found in a cave.
This one was found in a cave. Okay, so we kind of got the guy in the middle here. You can really see, I was looking at that, you can really see how much further the chimp sort of mouth comes out like that.
That's
It's almost
right, yeah,
more
they're very
like a
snouty.
Snout, yeah, like more like a dog, I guess.
That's
but
right,
more
yeah,
than this,
yeah.
which is flat across. Well, thank you so much for bringing these in. It was really neat to see these.
That's all the time we have today. Hope that you feel the urge to go exploring in those mysterious caves, with proper safety, of course. Who knows, you might just find a fossil.
I love how you tied those two things together. We'd love to hear from you guys. Tell us what you think or who your favorite host is. Do so by visiting our website at www.fridayzone.org. And don't forget, you can download all your favorite episodes of The Friday Zone for free on iTunes.
That's right. Remember to live, learn, and play the Friday Zone way. We'll see you right here next week.
Production support for the Friday Zone is provided by Smithville, a locally owned business serving central and southern Indiana since 1922, with residential and business internet, voice, and security services. Smithville, local pride, global technology. Information at smithville.net. The Margaret A. Cargill Foundation, and WTIU members. Thank you.